It's what Mr. Kemp calls the Romeo defense, Your Honor. It's, oh, we can't say the poison killed Romeo because we don't know how much poison he was exposed to.
All right. Part 61 now. Please be seated. Okay. And do one more at least, right?
Yes, sir. Let's do one more. This is UNFW's motion eliminating number 17, Your Honor. Concerns hydrazine degradation. Mr. Stevens, if you could pull up the Eurofins test results, please, page 6. As the court has repeatedly heard, Your Honor, UNFW commissioned some testing of retail real water that showed what the plaintiffs characterize as being riddled with hydrazine and what UNFW would characterize as trace amounts of hydrazine. Mr. Stevens is highlighting those 5 of those 7 results, and that's where it stops, John. Can you scroll up a little bit, John, and get the first 2 non-detects? You'll essentially see, Your Honor, that there are 7 samples. The first 2 are reported as non-detects. Mr. Kemp will inform the court that there was hydrazine detected below the method detection limit or the reporting limit. The others are reported at 1.1 parts per billion or micrograms per liter, 1.6 parts per billion, 11 parts per billion, 300 parts per billion, and 39 parts per billion. These are the results. These results were taken from bottles that were, this was done in March of 2023. These samples were bottled, as you can see from the sampling dates, between September 30th, 2020 and March 2nd, 2021.
We're talking about degradation, right?
We're talking about degradation. And the plaintiff's contention, and I don't think this much is controversial, Judge, all the experts agree that over time, hydrazine, like any semi-volatile compound, will degrade. It changes. It goes away from, it turns from N2H4 into, I'll display my ineptitude at chemistry if I try to guess, but a harmless compound involving other molecules. And it does that over time, and it does that depending on a number of variables which the experts identified as, well, I'll get to that in just one second. The plaintiff's toxicologist has opined about a minimum level of toxicity for hydrazine. John, can you go to the COSMED transcript, please, at page 94, lines 5 through 10. And his essential position, Your Honor, or opinion, is that water containing hydrazine in a concentration of 21 milligrams per liter, or possibly somewhat higher or lower, would be capable of inducing liver injury in some individuals. 21 milligrams per liter is, let's see if I can do this math right, 2,100 micrograms per liter. It's 3 orders of magnitude. None, just to refresh the court's recollection, the closest, I'm sorry, it's 21,000. So the closest we came on the retail bottle samples was 1/70th of the level Dr. Cosman identifies here. Now, I think the plaintiffs understandably want to bridge that gap. They will say, and this is fine, they've disclosed this opinion. I don't think it's controversial that hydrazine degrades over time. They say that depends on a number of variables: time, available oxygen, temperature, pH, photo, UV exposure, that is how much light the chemical is subject to, and probably some other variables that I'm forgetting at the time. But none of the experts, Your Honor, and this is the critical point, none of the experts have professed the ability to quantify that degradation or actually attempted to do so. John, can you go to the Najim deposition at 67 and 68, please? Exhibit A. This is the plaintiff's expert, Your Honor, that we're showing on the screen, Dr. Najim. And he's asked on page 68 of his deposition by Ms. Anderson that he stated that it's not possible to back calculate what the concentration would have been at the time of production, and that's true for all the factors we have just discussed and all of the unknown circumstances. Is that right? Dr. Najim's answer is that is driven by the fact that I do not know any of the conditions involved, and therefore I cannot back calculate it. He reiterates that on the next page, lines 5 through 9. You have not, as I understand it, attempted to calculate what the likely concentration of hydrazine would have been in any given bottle at any given time. Correct? Answer, that is correct. Dr. Dooley is the plaintiff's expert who was, I think, more specifically disclosed on the degradation issue, but his testimony is fundamentally the same. Page 45 of the Dooley deposition chart. Based on the information you have, he was asked, it is not possible for you to quantify the specific hydrazine degradation in this case, correct? Answer, yes. So all this motion does, Your Honor, is attempts to maintain that status quo. There is no objection to Dr. Najim or Dr. Dooley saying hydrazine degrades over time, and these are the factors that affect that, and we don't know the values to plug into those variables, so we can't calculate it. All we know is that it would have been different and likely higher at the time of production than it is now. That's fine. But what we don't want to see, Your Honor, is a number or an estimate or a guess. It would be given the lack of certainty about this at trial. Specifically, John, if we could go to Najim, page 67. Dr. Najim at one point speculated during the deposition, Your Honor, it would not surprise me if the levels were twice as high or even 10 times as high. But as he's previously admitted, he has no factual basis for that opinion. And under Hallmark, which requires, as the court's well aware, to demonstrate a reliable methodology, the existence of baseline facts rather than assumptions or conjecture, that idle speculation is inadmissible. So that's the motion, Your Honor. We just ask that the court issue an order excluding any attempt to belatedly quantify the hydrazine degradation that might have actually occurred.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, with regard to this motion, we also filed a joinder. That's all I need to say at this point. There may be other reasons we can discuss this at some future date with our motions. But just so you know, we completely agree with this particular motion that's been filed by UNFW and any sort of speculation with regard to mathematics on this particular idea that we can figure out how much hydrazine was in anything. It's just chemically not there. And I think we'll have experts that will discuss it who are chemists. We'll get to this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Your Honor, Red Water, Tennessee also completely agrees with UNFW's motion.
We do have a real water defendants in mind. Thank you, sir. Mr. Pepperman.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, maybe I didn't understand the motion, but it appears to me that the request has completely changed. And the motion was titled, Motion to Exclude Speculative Expert Theories Regarding Hydrazine Degradation, and sought to exclude testimony regarding the opinion that hydrazine degrades. Doesn't seem that that is the case. I don't know that there's much of a dispute over this. Dr. Najim and Dr. Dooley, like every other expert, like I think all the parties have all acknowledged and agree that hydrazine degrades over time, that the rate of degradation depends on various factors and conditions and what those conditions are that affects the degradation. The amount can't be back calculated. because it's a factor of many different variables that we just don't know. In terms of the fact that it degrades, that it's what the degradation is based on, and the fact that you can't calculate it, it seems like we agree to all of that. In terms of what is at issue, I'm not really sure, to be forthright with the court. It seems they just want to prevent estimates or, adjectives about the degradation, which I don't see that there is any basis for that limitation. Dr. Najam mentioned in his report and during his deposition that, yes, over various times and based on the factors, it could be a significant degradation, and that it wouldn't surprise him if it was 2 times or 10 times or any number of a degree more. He does not intend to give any estimates or amounts because we don't know that to be true. His opinions are that hydrazine degrades over time and that you cannot calculate the amount. And then based on that, we have what we know. We know that the FDA found hydrazine in the concentrate at concentrations of 1.33 milligrams per milliliter, 1.44, and 1.75, I believe, milligrams per milliliter. That concentrate was tested in October of 2021, and according to Blaine Jones, it was produced sometime in early 2020. We also know that
And that's the concentrate?
that was the concentrate by the FDA. We also know the retail bottles, 7 were tested. 5 of them were at levels above the detection limits. 2, the levels weren't as high as the detection limits, but there's evidence that there was hydrazine in both those bottles. We know the dates of manufacture of those bottles. They're between September 30th, 2021 and September 30th, 2020 and March of 2021. The testing was done in March 2023. So the evidence is, and the testimony will be, that one of many factors that affect hydrazine degradation is exposure to oxygen, the temperature that the bottles are stored in, the pH. So the concentrate has a higher pH than the finished product water. It's produced and then put into a sealed bottle. So you'd expect the concentrations to be higher in the concentrate longer. And when the concentrate's used to make the finished product, it's poured into the big tanks of the purified water to make the finished product, and then it's bottled after that. So that's additional exposure to oxygen. It's stored in different temperature conditions. So these are all the evidence that the experts will testify about. And to say, based on the evidence, that when you test these retail bottles in 2023, after they've been made 2 years earlier, if not more, 2 to 2.5 years earlier, that the levels of hydrazine at the time of manufacture are going to be significantly higher is not speculation. That is a scientific fact based on chemistry, based on undisputed factual information, based on the factors that affect degradation. And there's no reason to preclude that type of explanation to the jury. I think just tying this all back to Hallmark is important. Mr. Neale said he doesn't dispute the qualifications of Dr. Najam or Dr. Dooley to give their opinions on hydrazine degradation. I would point out that that's different from what the reply said. That was my understanding in our opposition, and made note that they're not challenging Dr. Najim's qualifications to give these opinions, and the reply came back and said, actually, we are challenging the qualifications. So now it seems like the qualification factor is not disputed for these experts. So then we go to the assistance factor, and the evidence is, as I said, we have the FDA testing results, we have the Eurofins testing results of the retail bottles, we have the evidence relating to the storage conditions, the time of manufacture, the time of manufacture of the concentrate. Based on all that evidence, the experts who are admittedly qualified will help the jury understand that evidence by saying this testing of these retail bottles that Mr. Neale describes as, 3 parts per billion or 30 parts per billion, whatever it is, that's not reflective of the hydrazine levels that were present when these bottles were first manufactured. And it wouldn't be reflective of the concentration of hydrazine in the bottles at the time they were being consumed, when real water was operated. So that's why this evidence is important, and why this expert testimony is important to assist the jury. Not only does it help them understand that evidence, but it also helps the jury understand and determine a fact and issue. We'll get into these in later motions, but one of the things that defendants are arguing is, oh, well, yeah, there's hydrazine in all this water everywhere, but it's only a small amount of hydrazine. And they're pointing to the retail bottle testing and say, oh, look, these are just trace amounts. Mr. Neale told you, oh, just trace amounts. Well, yeah, when the retail water was tested 2 to 2.5 years after it was manufactured, the amounts were much smaller than what you'd expect it to be when they're originally manufacturing it, because hydrazine degrades. And while you can't say exactly how much hydrazine would have been in there based on the test results, you can say it would have been significantly more than after letting it sit and degrade for 2 to 2.5 years. And so that's the importance of the testimony. It explains the evidence. It helps the jury determine this issue. It's qualified. It's testimony and opinion evidence from qualified experts, and it's within the scope of their knowledge and expertise. So again, I'll circle back. I don't really understand what the defendants are seeking to exclude here, but we'd ask that you deny the motion and allow these experts to testify consistent with what they've said in their reports and depositions.
Thanks. I do want to speak after you.
Yeah.
Just putting you back.
To remind the court, Dr. Najim said I did not attempt to calculate what the level might have been, and I do not have the ability to calculate what the amount might have been. Dr. Dooley said I did not calculate what the amount might have been, and I cannot calculate what the amount might have been. What we're trying to exclude is exactly what we said in the motion. Any attempt to come into court and characterize or quantify the degree of the degradation. Period. They didn't do the tests, and they don't have the information necessary to do that by their own admission. So to allow the court to say, in Dr. Najim's case, it would not surprise me if there were more than 2 to 10 times, or to even allow the experts to say there would have been significantly more or substantially more, would be error, because whatever that calculation is, whatever that characterization is, quantified or qualified is speculative. Neither expert can do it by their own admission, neither expert attempted to do it. Hallmark doesn't let an expert come into court and testify about quantification he did not and cannot do. That's the motion, Your Honor. If the court has questions, I'm happy to try to answer them, but I think the issue is simple.
What can they do? I mean, and my question is, everyone agrees that there's degradation, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there would have been more hydrazine before the time the calculations and inspection and testing was done. We can agree with that too.
Presumably.
Right.
But we can't say, we can't say that that was true in this case because we don't know what any of those variables are. And we can't say, it exists as a potential concept, but nobody's done the work necessary to say whether those variables affected the degradation here. And to the extent it occurred, whether the degradation would have resulted in an additional 1 part per billion, or as Dr. Cosmet, the plaintiff's expert toxicologist, would require, 2,100 parts per billion. You can't say significantly or substantially or a number absent having done the work, period. I understand Mr. Rasmussen would like to add something.
And if I could just be heard, because I am worried about this thought that we're gonna have someone like Dr. Najim get up and say, oh, I think it was significantly more. Well, what does that mean? Does it mean anything? I don't know what that means, but here's what he does say when it comes to when it was originally made.
That's what I really want to kind of focus on a little bit.
Okay, so let me tell you what he says here. This is
Wait,
page.
wait, slow down, let me follow. I'm not going to listen to what you have to say. Where are you at?
That's a good question, and maybe I need to move. I'm on page 57. John, if you can pull that up, of Mr. Najim's deposition.
I think it's Dr. Najim.
I apologize. Mr. Kemp is correct. I should be calling him Dr. Najim. I'll do so. Let's just start at line. Let's go to 56. We'll just get to some stuff that it says. Let's look at line 17. That wasn't something that you looked at.
Wait, I'm trying to follow it. I want to make sure I can follow it.
You bet. I'm at page 56.
I see right here. And there's a pointer getting ready to turn parts of the transcript yellow.
Line 17.
Yeah, I agree.
That wasn't something that you looked at in your report or opined on. That additional hydrazine was produced after the process of making negative water, right? I did not look into that, no. So, he didn't test or look at.
When you say after the process of making negative water, what does that mean?
Good question. So let me answer that. Remember what we have here is filtered water.
Right.
Okay? I then have that put into a big tank, 800 gallon tank, just water. I then take 2.5 gallons of concentrate and I pour that into the tank. Now we know from Mr. Marlowe's testimony that what he put in there, what he thought was in the concentrate was magnesium chloride, potassium hydrochloride, and potassium chloride, as I would call the 3 ingredients. And those are salts, okay? You can, they're not toxic at all. Most of our Colorado River water has those in them, okay? And we don't try to get rid of
We
them.
learned about that in
We learned that about Kitech, we learned about,
dezinkification, I understand.
yes, okay. Not good for zinc,
Right.
not bad for the body. We were all there, okay?
We were all there.
So this is where we're at, that you looked at. So do you know whether or not hydrogen could continue to grow? In other words, we've got some amount of it in here, could it grow? Could it become more from what you put in there, which is water and these three chemicals? And he says, Dr. He says, I did not look into that. No. So his opinion is, that's line 21 of page 56.
The only reason I had the question was you said continue to grow, and I didn't see that.
So let me go back to the question. That wasn't something that I looked at in your report or opined on that additional hydrazine was produced after the process of making negative water, right? Answer, I did not look into that. No. So the negative water is made, and he says, I did not look into whether or not hydrazine from the chemicals that are in this negative water could expand, become additional, be produced.
I don't think anyone's arguing that, right?
No, I'm just making sure you've got a background.
No, okay.
Okay? So we're talking about it degrades. So it can only, we're all talking about going one direction, all right? So let's move on. Now that you know where we're at. Question, and at this point, your opinion is that all the hydrazine was produced during the first or the two-stage electrolysis process, correct? Mr. Pepperman objects, form foundation, witness. At this point, that is my most plausible explanation of the presence of hydrazine in the concentrate. In other words, when it's being made, the concentrate, the only reason I can think of, the only plausible thing that I have, so that's his opinion. Here's your expert opinion. Is that somewhere when the concentrate was being made, that's when the hydrazine was created as well. Okay? Next question. Okay. So once the constituents are added to the 300 gallons of water, those are the three things I just talked about, potassium and magnesium, in chloride or hydrochloride form. So the negative water, that's talking about negative water, and then the three constituents that we just discussed, all of that would be mixed together for approximately 1 hour. All right, that's my understanding. Okay, so we have an opinion based on the evidence that he's seen that this is how long they mixed that concentrate together, okay? And there's only 300 gallons of concentrate, is that correct? Again, he says that is my understanding. Okay, just look at the evidence from probably blame joints on how long it takes to cook the sauce. Question, and I think I know the answer, but I have to ask, and this is the important one. Do you have any opinion on the concentration of hydrazine in the 300 gallons of concentrate that is produced? Answer, I have no opinion on that. So we don't know where we're starting from, and we know where it can only go downhill. Because he's justifying it can't go uphill, we're not going to get more of it, but we don't even have a starting point. So this motion to say, let's not speculate about how much hydrazine is in anything at all, is based right there in Dr. Najim's testimony. I have no opinion on that. Not just an opinion, or maybe an opinion, or possibly an opinion. I have no opinion. Thank you, Aaron, for that.
Okay, any idea as to what I mean, I don't know who all the experts are in this case, pathology, medical, whatever. What's the testimony regarding toxicity levels?
So there are toxicologists that have been, I have one, I believe UNFW has one, I believe Real Water has one, I know that the plaintiffs have one, there's at least 4 that are going to testify with regard to this. There may be the testimony that says any part will kill you. I just don't believe that's true, but that might be someone's opinion. Point is, we don't even know the starting point. This person who can test this, okay, Dr. Najim, says, I don't know. I don't even know how much is there.
I want to make sure.
Yeah, but others will testify. I just want to make sure you have seen, he has no opinion.
Yeah, but my question is this, everyone agrees there's degradation, right? We all agree.
It's only going downhill.
Okay, and so it's going downhill. And so the purpose of the motion was saying, well, he can't say, is it that he can't say that there was a higher level at the time of?
No, he can't even tell you what, but he can't tell us what the level is even.
Well, no, I understand that, but I mean, we know there's degradation, right? We know that. Everyone agrees.
From day one.
From day one, that this stuff is made. Well, my next question is this, I would anticipate there's some testimony regarding toxicity levels.
Yes, Ron. There is some. The medical doctors for the plaintiffs don't know what that level is. Their toxicologists gave an estimate. John, can you pull up Cosmet, page 94, lines 5 through 10. This is the plaintiff's toxicologist. And he says, Your Honor, at 5 through 10, water containing hydrazine at a concentration of 21 milligrams per liter, or possibly somewhat higher or lower, would be capable of inducing liver injury in some individuals.
Okay.
21 milligrams per liter, Your Honor, is 21,000 micrograms per liter. It is 70 times what you saw in the highest retail bottled water sample. And that's why I'm so adamant about enforcing hallmark here and avoiding absolutely any quantification, any attempt to quantify above the tested limits, because the experts not only deny the effort of having done so, but they deny the ability to do so. So they can talk about the fact of degradation under certain conditions. They can identify the factors that might contribute to it, but that's the extent of their properly disclosed testimony. Nobody has done any test, quantification, estimate, calculation beyond that.
So I want to make sure I'm clear, because I'm going to go back and go into this more detail. I actually have Monday off, so you won't be here Monday, right?
Your Honor, Mr. Robbins is for you, you will not be able to be here on
I
Monday.
don't think we're here Monday, period, are
We talked about that, Your Honor, but why don't we finish Mr. Pepperman and Mr. Neale and
Okay.
just put this one in the bag and then we can talk
I
about it.
agree with Mr.
But
Robbins.
I'm saying, I didn't think we were here Monday. I mean, don't.
It was because we believed one of them.
Okay, but I mean,
So for a second, we're not gonna be here Monday.
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yes,
I mean, we're not going to be here Monday. There's no disagreement there, right?
Correct.
correct, Your Honor, not at this time.
Oh, that's all I want, because I'll have more time, you know, I've been doing a lot of things lately.
Fair enough.
Because I like to have, reading time. I don't always want to read at home. All right. I want to sit in chambers and read a little bit.
Fair enough.
Yes, all right, so we're all on the same page. No, but go ahead. No, I don't want to cut you off.
Well, that's the motion, Your Honor. The concept is valid, the variables are identified, but nobody has made any attempt to do the calculation that would be required to qualify or quantify the extent of the degradation. And nobody has professed the ability to do so. So it's fine to say that hydrazine theoretically degrades. It's fine to say that these are the variables involved. I don't know how that assists the jury under hallmark, since nobody's attempted to do it. But what is absolutely not permissible, given this record, is for an expert to come in with an undisclosed opinion that he previously professed the inability to develop and say, I now think it was substantial, or I now think it was significant, or it wouldn't surprise me if, or lo and behold, I somehow calculated that it's 70 times what it was in these tests.
Okay, I understand.
Your Honor, he's not giving a calculation, he's giving a range. He said it in his report, he was questioned about it. And keep in mind, this isn't, at the time of his report, we didn't have the Eurofins test results on the retail bottles. He's referring to the levels of hydrazine that the FDA detected, the number the FDA concluded. So when Mr. Rasmussen tells you, oh, we don't know the levels of concentrate, no one knows. We do know that what the FDA tested in October 2021, based on concentrate that was made in early 2020, is the best evidence we have from Blaine Jones when he made that concentrate that the FDA tested. Dr. Najim, can you pull up his qualifications, Your Honor? Dr. Najim, he is the hydrazine guy. He's an environmental engineer, water quality. He's authored, if you can go down, Chris. Down a little more. He's an expert in water quality and treatment chemistry. Most relevant to this case, I served as the principal investigator on 2 research studies funded by the AWWA Research Foundation, focused on the formation of hydrazine in water. The first study is entitled Formation of Hydrazine as a Chloramine Byproduct. It was published in 2006. The second study was titled Quantifying Hydrazine in Chlorinated Water and was published in 2011. You don't have to take my word for it that Dr. Najim's the guy. Can you play Dr. Richardson? This is Dr. Richardson the water chemist hired by Real Water. Have you studied a chemical called hydrazine in this case?
I have never studied it in my laboratory, but I sought out papers in the literature to learn something about hydrazine to figure out how it could have formed.
And one of the papers that you sought out was a paper that was published by a group who the lead author was a Dr. Isam Najm, correct?
Correct.
And you relied heavily on Dr. Najm's report, is that right?
That's correct.
Would you agree that Dr. Najm is an authoritative person on hydrazine and drinking water?
Yes, and he's very well respected in the field in general.
Do you know Dr. Najm personally?
I've met him, but I don't know him well.
This is Real Water's expert, and we served our initial expert disclosure simultaneously in this case. So she didn't know that we had retained Dr. Najm as our expert. She's a chemist, she's a former research chemist at the Environmental Protection Agency. She's a professor at University of South Carolina. Real Water retains her, tells her the issues. She sets out to research hydrazine, and who does she go to? Dr. Najm. He's the authoritative expert in this field. He's authored the reports quantifying hydrazine in chlorinated water, and he gave an opinion in this case. And he gave a valid opinion that, yes, I see how much hydrazine was detected by the FDA. This was in concentrate that was manufactured almost 2 years earlier. Hydrazine degrades over time. At the rate that hydrazine degrades, based on the factors of what we know, I can't say exactly how much hydrazine was in there. I can't say how much hydrazine degraded. I could say it was probably 2 to 10 times higher. Wouldn't be surprised if it's as much as 10 times higher. That's not an unqualified opinion. It's not speculation. It's based on expertise. It's based on evidence, facts that are in evidence, the testing, the levels tested by the FDA, what we know about the time that the concentrate was manufactured, the various factors of storage that affect hydrazine degradation, and based on all those factors, Dr. Najm provided a range. It's not an exact number. He's not saying he can calculate it. He's admitting that you can't calculate it. Everyone agrees. There's nothing speculative about that. The only reason they want to keep this out is because they don't, they want to keep the hydrazine as little as possible so they can argue, oh no, there wasn't enough hydrazine and there wasn't enough rocket fuel. It's what Mr. Kemp calls the Romeo defense, Your Honor. It's, we can't say the poison killed Romeo because we don't know how much poison he was exposed to. That's why this evidence is important.
We need to talk to Mrs. Ryerson about this after lunch.
You get the point.
And here's the thing, and just one more thing, this is what I'm gonna do. And of course, you get the last word.
Thank you.
But this is what I need, because the reason why I asked what was going on for Monday is because I want to have time, right? I want to be able to sit back in my chambers starting about 9:30, and I just want to go through and take care of some loose ends as far as this case is concerned. Advise me. And I kind of want to clean that up, if possible, as much as I can. And because there's still time for trial, but I mean, I'm looking now, and in light of how much has been discussed, we're on what, motion eliminating number 70?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then we had a couple of things before then, right?
I think we had 10 of the plaintiffs.
Okay, so we're at 27 in? Is that kind of?
We're about
Plus
one-
MSJ.
That's
30,
MSJ.
1/3 based on your numbering system.
Okay, so here's my point. And there's two things I want to do. Of course, I'm gonna give you the last
Thank
word
you.
first. But then after that, I want to do a little housekeeping because I want to make a list so I can go through and talk to Tori Monday morning as to what I need to get accomplished and maybe get some of these other advisements done. Secondly, there's two things I want to see. I don't even know if I have them. I mean, I have, I think 3 library guides. You know, that's what these things are. Is it 3?
3.
Okay. And, but I want his deposition transcript so I can look at. I want his report. And of course, I'm gonna give you the last word, because I want to read it. Secondly, before you leave, I just want to go through a checklist as to what's pending. So I can maybe start working on that. And I don't want to work with, I mean, I don't mind anyone in this room, but I don't want to work with you now. I'd rather work in chambers and get things done.
You know, assuming we're not going on Monday, I think the regular schedule would apply. The next one up is 18 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think
So we
that's the
do-
question.
Was that just a question?
I think he's asking what's under advisement.
Oh, no. See, I want to get Mr. Kemp, I'm trying to get caught up.
Okay. I have one.
Okay, wait, slow down for Tori, because she's my,
Can we finish that motion, Your Honor, by saying, allowing you to say one?
yeah, go ahead and just say your last word.
Thank you.
Because I wanted to make sure you said your last word first.
Go ahead, Scott.
Okay.
Going back to page 57,
Okay.
and by the way, the Najim deposition transcript is Exhibit A to this motion.
All right.
So you have it there.
Let me look and see.
You were just looking at one.
I've looked at a lot.
Fair enough.
Okay, so we're talking 17.
Back to 57, Najim.
Okay.
And I read you, started at 56.
Wait.
Gotcha.
I see there, I do have the exhibit. Is this the entire transcript?
I believe it is, Your Honor. It's condensed, but I believe that's.
No, it condenses fine. I just want to make sure. Can you write that down for me? That exhibit A, deposition transcript, for Dr. Nagy. And that's regarding defense motion and limiting number 17. Thank you.
You're welcome. Looking at line 14, we read this before, and then I'm just going to the next sentence. Okay, that's all I'm doing.
Okay, no, I'm gonna follow you now. I know you have it on the screen. Wait, slow down. Page 14? Is that it?
I'm so sorry, page 57.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's getting late in the day.
No, it's my mistake.
Okay, sir, I'm on page 57. All right.
Line 14. We just looked at this. This is where I came to, I can't get an opinion. Question was, I think I know the answer, but I have to ask. Do you have any opinion on the concentration of hydrogen in the 300 gallons of concentrate that is produced? Answer, I have no opinion on that. Okay, so Mr. Pepperman talked about some sort of a range. There's no opinion on a range of what is in this concentrate. The only thing we know is that the FDA's testing found hydrazine in the concentrate, okay? So this is a container of concentrate sitting there. It's not in a tank, it's not been added to water yet, okay? The next,
So here's my question.
go ahead.
I'm glad you're conducting this exercise, because I need some context when I'm reading this. I've tabbed it. So they tested the concentrate. What about the retail and/or 5-gallon jugs?
This is concentrate as far as I know, and someone wants to disagree with me, they can right now.
They tested hydrogen for the retail bottles, and that's the test Mr. Neale did. And there was
Yes, he did.
There was no other hydrogen testing done.
Urine testing was conducted by James Clark. That's of the retail water, okay?
All right.
Next question, and that is something that at this point, it's impossible to know for the same reasons we discussed previously.
So in other words, what can we know?
Answer, to have an exact number, some sort of a range, how much is in there,
There's a difference between an exact number.
And a number.
I agree. We don't have a exact, I can't give you an opinion on it, I can't give you an exact number. Yes, it is impossible to know. Sorry, Jim, I apologize. Thank you for giving me some time.
Here's my last word, Your Honor, this will be
Thank you.
less than 30 seconds. You and the staff have been patient. I'm not gonna fundamentally disagree with Mr. Pepperman. Dr. Najim is the guy. He's the hydrazine guy. I don't know if that's a title that I want, but he's
I
earned it.
understand. I get it.
And this is what the hydrazine guy said, John, page 67. The foremost hydrazine expert in the world said, I can't do it. I cannot
Wait,
calculate.
We're at page 67.
It's on your screen, Your Honor.
Okay.
Page 67, lines 12 through 14.
Slow down for 1 second, because I want to tab your deposition transcript so I can go.
I'm pleased to see you do that, Your Honor.
So we're at page 67, is that line 12?
Line 12 through 14, yes, sir. The hydrazine guy, the one who's published all these studies, here professes the inability to do exactly what Mr. Pepperman now wishes he had done, and what would be necessary to either quantify or even qualify the level of hydrazine at any other time. That's my final word, Your Honor, unless the court has an additional question.
I did not have this.
If the man can't do it, we shouldn't ask the jury to speculate about it.
Going back to your question, I have,
He's gonna get the last word again.
no, I'm.
I think this is procedural, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
We've closed the book on
I'm sorry.
17.
Okay, getting back to what I gotta do, my task at hand.
Right. So I have motion for summary judgment one, the Christopher Rams as the water consumed. Motion for summary judgment number one, the real water consumed by Christopher Rams prior to the August 18th, prior to his August 18th, 2020 hospitalization was not made provision plan. I have that under
All right, so I have my law clerk and Tori also listing them, just to make sure we don't miss anything.
Okay, Your Honor, Mr. Pepperman advised me that the very first motion has been denied, and part of it is still under advisement. And your Honor has listed the part of the things are under advisement, and we agree with that.
Okay, and for the record, just to make sure I got it right, what's
Yeah,
that?
that's UNFI motion to exclude declarations with regards to the sanction.
Docket number 268. It was
Yes.
denied to exclude Sandstrom's trial testimony and under advisement as to the motion to exclude her declaration and the counter motion for sanction.
I got you, okay.
Okay, and the second one is motion for judgment number one about Chris Mann. That one's under advisement.
Docket number 282.
And then the fourth one, I just mentioned this for completeness, Your Honor. Excuse me. The fifth one is under advisement. That's the motion of real water should liable to all plaintiffs, and you asked for more briefing, which the parties all provided, I think it was Tuesday. So that's under advisement.
That's docket 285.
The next one's 6. You denied that. Mr. Parker's indicated that he's going to file a motion, some sort of note. Yeah, that's the motion, correct.
You're looking at the number one.
Okay, that's motion for summary judgment number 5, Your Honor. Mr. Doctor?
287.
And that was denied.
Yeah, that's denied. I'm just telling you that something's coming in. And the next one I have under advisement is 19 on this list. That's UNFI MIL number 2 to exclude irrelevant character evidence of real water employees. That's still under advisement.
Do you have the docket number?
Yeah.
That's docket number 292.
Okay. 20 is the plaintiff's motion to strike UNFW's answer. I have that as under advisement.
I'm sorry, hang
We must want to do it. This way we're doing it this way.
529, docket 529, Kayla Belsky's motion to strike the answer is 529.
Yeah, that's the motion.
That's what we just talked about, right? It's the motion to strike?
Yep.
And you have the document?
529.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You have it, Joel?
Yes.
Okay, and
And then 292 is owner advisement.
Yes, that's the motion eliminating number 2 from United Natural Foods to exclude character evidence of real water quality.
Yes.
Right. And then the next one I have is 33, which is motion number 14. 33, I made through this. Motion number 14. That's denied except as to Mr. Pham, but you're going to look at the definition of Mr. Pham on that.
I
And,
think we skipped another one. 302,
Yeah, 302
UNFW's
yeah.
motion limiting number 11.
I just have that as denied.
I think that had Mr.
That's the pets.
That's the past.
Oh,
That's the pets, I have the,
Oh, you're right. It's granted as to brain surgery and miscarriage, and then the pets are still.
Yep, and then the last one, I think, was the one you guys just said.
Which-
14 for FAM,
Yeah, it's repeated, it was 14.
and that's 305,
Okay, great.
docket 305.
And then the last one is the hydrogen.
I have number 14 is denied.
Denied acceptance to family.
There is one open issue, I believe.
Tom FAM on the hearsay.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Julie. That's not an issue.
so that's, is that it?
That's it.
We agree, Your Honor.
I'm actually in better shape than I anticipated. All right, so, we'll go ahead and adjourn for today, and when do we come back to?
We come back on Tuesday, the 8th at 10:30 a.m.
And can the court provide any guidance to the parties about the schedule for the remainder of the week?
The spreadsheet that I gave you, whatever we haven't heard, it's in order.
I understand
As far
that.
as times.
Are we
Oh,
back every day and
we are here on the 8th, starting at 10:30, on the 10th, starting at 10:30, and then the 11th is open if we need it, anytime.
And
What
the
is the 11th, is that a Friday?
It's a Friday,
Okay.
8th, 10th, and 11th,
yes,
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
yes,
Wednesday is booked, I take it with other matters.
correct,
And these were all 10:30.
yes.
And
Unless we wanna make it
hypothetically, if we
Friday.
leave Friday, we would come back, say, at 9:30, because that's, I think that's an all day, I don't have mornings, I don't want to tell you that. Yeah, and so what I've done is I just set that aside in case we need it.
I would lobby again for 10:30. I have another East Coast definitely 7 o'clock our time, Friday.
That won't be a tough lobby. All I can say is, say Wednesday or Thursday, if it looks like we're going, let me know, and
Yes.
we can accommodate.
Thank you.
So I missed, is that everything?
So I apologize, 8 August 11th, at what time?
At 10:30 if we need it. Current schedule is August 8th, it's a Tuesday at 10:30, and then August 10th, that's Thursday at 10:30, and then we'll reserve August 11th, Friday at 10:30 a.m.
So we have one on Wednesday?
We can't do Wednesday.
Oh,
Wednesday, I think I have other matters, Mr. Parker.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, could I selfishly raise one issue that the parties talked about? If there's one day on Tuesday that we're coming back, and I'm sorry to make this personal, but for travel reasons, would it be possible to take up some motions that don't involve UNFW on that day, the meter Russians?
I have no problem with that, Your Honor. I thought we were trying to get that lined up for Monday. Mr. Robbins, I guess, is sick. Mr. Rasmussen talked to him, so he wasn't available on Monday.
Sir, if you want.
If they agree to it, I don't mind doing meter motions on Tuesday morning.
We'll try to communicate sometime in between them, yeah.
And if you want us to accommodate your travel schedule, maybe do motions that don't involve your client, whatever you need.
That's exactly the proposal, as long as that doesn't mess up the staff going out of work.
I just need to know which motions are being heard, and I'm good.
Wonderful. We'll try to circulate an email so we get everybody on the same page. And
Mr.
We'll get something
Robbins,
out on Monday.
Mr. Robbins is the big issue.
What?
Mr. Robbins is the issue.
He really is, and I'll try to talk to him and see where he's at. And, because if he cannot be here on Tuesday, he can't do.
Thank you for that, Your Honor.
Need a motion.
You're welcome, sir. And here's my next question. I'm thinking, we'll have next week, and will we need time after this?
I think we're gonna need time after, because I think Mr. Robbins' situation seems to be a little more serious than that, but I don't know if he's talking about it.
Well, the positives are essentially this, we're out early as far as a lot of the motions have been decided early, we can get it done. And then, so Ramirez case,
As far as I know.
I understand.
Were there rulings made on that?
Well, I made some rulings recently, so
Ruling in the past 2 days?
I think they should have been in order when. Today.
Today? Okay.
Well, I can't comment on, of course, the merits, but it's a well thought out.
That's
That's
right, they issue the opportunity.
Yeah.